All right, hello everyone. We looked at this PowerPoint during class, and I asked students to take notes. So if you could have your art sketchbook with you as you go through this, or have watch this with me, that'd be great. So you can just title your sketch entry "Aesthetic Scanning." And so aesthetic scanning is basically looking at artwork very, very closely rather than just kind of glancing at it and having that thought of I like it or I don't like it. So aesthetic scanning gets a little deeper into what you are seeing. And so you can see a painting there on this first slide of a gentleman bent over with a magnifying glass, really, really looking hard at a painting in a museum. And he's got paints and he's got what looks to be a collapsible easel. So maybe he's an art student that's going to do a study of that painting and paint what he sees. So it is basically analyzing something really, really well. Also, aesthetic, just that word itself is kind of like what attracts the eye. And of course, everybody kind of has a different definition of what is beautiful or what attracts their eye to things. So even aesthetic can be kind of a debatable like topic. But things like technology have gotten better with aesthetics. So like back in the 1980s, computers were massive and kind of ugly and clunky, but they were functional. And today, computers are much more sleek and beautiful as well as functional. So aesthetic is always kind of the aesthetic of things is always kind of pushing into the function plus um, the beauty of whatever it is. So you could have like a plastic, kind of ugly plastic pitcher that you could mix up Kool-Aid in, or you could have a really beautiful glass pitcher that you mix up a bunch of Kool-Aid in. So that would be an example from like your kitchen. So yeah, just think of like what is really pretty and what is really not, and then why do we feel that way or think that way. So you guys at home, if you're listening to this, you guys can watch this YouTube video. Just click the link on the slides. All right, so aesthetic scanning has four steps. So describe, analyze, interpret, and judge. You guys can write that down in your notes. On the left side, you can see the elements and principles, and we've talked about those. So those are just listed there again, a review. But to use the elements and principles in aesthetic scanning. So aesthetic scanning essentially is like a critique. So critiques are oral or written discussions, a strategy used to analyze, describe, interpret. So critiques can help students improve or grow. You can write or talk about art. And then there's also the informational gathering. So if you do research on things, and then justification. Why don't you like something? So if you just look at something and say, I don't like it, and then you can't back that up, then you're not going to be recognized as being as maybe educated about it as you could if you said, I don't like it because of these things. So make sure, just like in writing, you want to back up your opinions. Following a simple set of focus questions for an art critique related to four major areas of art. So again, the description, analysis, interpretation, and judgment. All right, description basically is what it sounds like. You want to get farther than just beautiful or ugly or pretty. So you want to get a little bit more in depth. What are the facts of the art, not the earth, the art? So is there a written description about the artwork that you can read? What's the title? Who's the artist? When was it created? Can you identify the elements of the art? So line, shape, color. Just by seeing that, you probably could see that. And then can you describe or say what the tools or materials or things were used for that piece of art? And then the subject matter. And that's usually something we focus on quite quickly in art. the subject matter. So that shouldn't be a problem to describe something. Then analyze is getting a little deeper into that. So how is the work constructed? So like, where are the lines placed? Why are they placed where they're placed? If there's a lot of red in a painting and you've identified that there's a lot of red, then is it balanced? Does it have red all over the place, or is it red in certain spaces? So you're just trying to get a little bit more in depth about that description. So you're starting to analyze those things. And then as far as the subjects go, then you can start getting a little bit more into like, is there any symbolism there with those subjects and that kind of thing. All right, and then interpretation. Interpretation gets a little bit more into how the work makes you feel. Is there like a mood? Does it take you back to a time or a place or a memory when you look at it? So it's kind of your reaction to the piece rather than what the artist wants you to think about. It's what you feel or what you think when you look at it. So sure, you read in the beginning the description of the art piece, but then for the interpretation part, it can come down to kind of what you feel or what you think you see in the artwork. And then judgment or evaluation. This is where you get more into your opinion rather than facts. So here we have again that why do you think it's good or not good? Why do you think it's a failure or a success? And then you back that up. And that's basically the judgment. But if there's a critique in a class, you don't really want to like tear down a student's artwork and then not give them like tips and tricks to try to improve it. So even though it says judgment up there, I like the word evaluation better because it always means that there's room for improvement. So aesthetic scanning or critiquing should always be looked at as a way to improve what we're doing as artists, not a way to like kind of diminish us and throw us into the gutter and make us feel awful. It should be a positive kind of, even if it has to be some negative, kind of critiquing, it's still constructive. Constructive is the major like thing to focus on. So if I ever ask you to do aesthetic scanning of your work or somebody else's work in the class, or even a famous piece of artwork, you can reference this slide. And you can kind of like pick through these slides and kind of remember what aesthetic scanning is and critiquing is. So, all right. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you guys are all doing well.